We really should have waiting parents, not waiting children. Over 100,000 children are available for adoption through the U.S. foster care system, and 27% don't have anyone, like a relative or foster parent, in the process of adopting them. 60% are between the ages of 5 and 17, and 2/3 are part of sibling groups of 2 to 8 children. Hey listener, my name is Marcy Bursack. My husband and I chose adoption as our plan A. After blogging about our journey adopting a sibling pair, I began mentoring families right in my own living room. That passion grew into the Forgotten Adoption Option, a nonprofit I now lead as a volunteer while working full-time in the tech industry. From my blog, 3 books, app, and classroom lesson to now a 45-minute course called Foster Care Adoption Simplified, which you can find at ForgottenAdoptionOption.com, I've created practical, heartfelt resources to help families navigate the foster care adoption process. As you listen to this episode, I encourage you to ask yourself, who in my circle needs to hear this? It's often people in what we call helper professions, people like therapists, nurses, doctors, police officers, firefighters, social workers, and teachers like my husband. These are the people who tend to step forward to adopt children from foster care. But this work isn't only about becoming an adoptive family, it's also about becoming an advocate and ally. Every waiting child deserves not just a forever family, but a community of people who champion their future. Whatever led you to this podcast, I am thrilled that you are here. My mission is simple, to help every waiting child be with their forever family. And that's exactly why I host this podcast. Welcome to the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast. In this episode, you'll hear how to create a foster care and adoption employee resource group, ERG. Some companies call this a BRG, which is a business resource group, pretty much the same thing. You're going to learn how to do this in the workplace. Andrew and I met in early 2025 when we were both panelists on an adoption inclusive workplace panel hosted by the National Council for Adoption. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Marcy. It's great to be here.
It's so fun. I am recording this while I'm in Florida, and Andrew lives on the East Coast. So we were just like joking about, I'm like, actually in the same time zone as you while we're doing this, which is fun. So a little bit, Andrew, he is a partner at KPMG, and he's the founder, which we're going to talk a lot about this, of the KPMG National Foster Care and Adoption Network. He's both a foster and adoptive parent. He's on the board at Comfort Cases. You might remember Rob Shear has been on the podcast before. Incredible episode. He also recently joined the board at CASE, which is the Center for Adoption Support and Education. He lives in Maryland with his wife of 22 years and 3 kids. On the panel that we were on together, he shared about the Employee Resource Group, or ERG, BRG, that he started at KPMG. I'm like, lots of acronyms, but you'll get the gist here. At the company, he started this group. Some companies, again, call these BRGs, but having pivoted into the corporate world myself and being a guest speaker at a number of these groups, I've been at family resource groups, there's women resource groups, that kind of thing. I was super intrigued that Andrew had done this specific to foster care and adoption. And I'm like, I gotta know more about your model. So I wanted to share what he's doing with everyone that's listening, because you could bring this concept to your work life and your community. And like, imagine the things that would happen, because Andrew's done some incredible things that are doing and having incredible impact. So Andrew, before we dive into what all that is and kind of get rid of the acronyms and really dive deep into what you're doing, first and foremost, you're a foster and adoptive dad. How long ago did you get licensed? How did your family shape? Tell us the story.
Sure. Well, thanks, Marcy. And before we get started, I just want to spend a minute talking about just how awesome you are in the work that you're doing in this space. Like, since we've met, I've had a chance to read all 3 of your books, had a chance to, listen to your podcast, do work, take a look at all the amazing resources you have on your website. What you put out on social media just is so informative and engaging. And of course, you're a published author in foster families. And I was just really excited to see the article that you just wrote recently. So I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. Like this type of promotion, this type of engagement around foster care and adoption is just so needed. And I just truly appreciate everything that you're doing.
Very good. Happy to be a conduit. Hopefully we're inspiring our listeners. Like, you can do it too. You can go use your social platform, start a podcast, and do things like Andrew. So back to Andrew. Thank you for the compliment. Back to you. Tell us, you get married, and then what happens? How do you end up with kids?
So my wife and I started building a family, and we have 2 amazing biological children now aged 17 and 14. And my wife frankly, my wife and I, we really enjoy being parents. We really enjoy the parenting journey. And we weren't done building a family, but both of those pregnancies were high risk. And we didn't want to continue down that path of building a family biologically. And it was kind of funny, Marcy, after the second was born, my middle child, one of us would bring up the idea about continuing to build a family. The other one would shoot it down, a bad day with the kids or, a bad day at work. And the timing wasn't right. And then, at one point, one of us brought up, returning back to this topic around building a family through foster care or adoption. And neither one of us shot it down. And we kind of let it hang there for a little while. And then we came back to the topic and kept talking about it and decided we wanted to explore it a little more together. So we explored private adoption, and that just didn't fit as well as the information session we went to for foster care. The ability to be able to provide short-term care to children in need was so powerful and so motivating for my wife and I. And that's really the way that we thought that we would be able to do great things. And we had this vision of, being one of those families that had fostered 40 kids and, all these big numbers of kids that we would end up serving. But, that wasn't the plan that God had in mind for us. So we started the adoption or the foster care process in 2017 and got licensed in 2018. And then pretty quickly we had a sibling pair that got placed with us, but they were only placed with us for 30 days before they were moved on to a more permanent placement. And then the phone didn't ring for a little while. And then all of a sudden we got a call for an emergency removal in September of 2018. And our Brooklyn was brought to us at 9 weeks old. And we ended up, she stayed with us and we adopted her 4.5 years later. And then she's now 6.5. So, that's just kind of how the whole process started for us. And, it really opened up a whole new part of, an aspect around community involvement, about building communities that just is so powerful to me and to my wife. And we're just so excited to, now be part of this broader foster care and adoption community.
Interesting story. Andrew, I have to ask you, when the conversation came up, like, well, what do you think about maybe this later? Was it your wife that brought it up first or you?
What about building a family or continuing to build a family?
Yeah.
It was probably me at first. And then, but again, each one of us would kind of bring it up, shoot it down, bring it up, shoot it down. And so each one of us were kind of really wrestling with that, how we both didn't feel like we were done building a family. And we wanted to continue to find other ways to be able to do so, knowing that, building a family, continue to build a family biologically just wasn't the right next step for us.
So beautiful. And it's interesting too, because oftentimes, it can feel like, oh, I saw this like really sweet thing on TV, or I saw this post, and it's like, this is such a kind of like incubated decision. Like you really have to really think about this. This is a life commitment. So thank you for shining light on that. And I want to pause before we go into this next part. So just for listeners, because I joined the corporate world from nonprofit. I'm like, what in the world's KPMG? My father-in-law actually worked at KPMG during his career. And Andrew, am I right there? You're an accounting firm. You're this huge accounting firm.
Yeah, a professional services firm. So we do accounting, tax, and consulting services to some of the largest organizations in the world.
Some listeners might be like, Marcy, I know that. And maybe you did. Cool. But I want you just to like hear that context, because I think what's interesting is this professional services company is doing something incredibly innovative. And to me, it's like, of all places for this to come from, this is amazing. So Andrew, this company's huge. How many employees does KPMG have?
I think we're at 42,000 right now in the United States.
Huge. Yes. Okay. So where did this idea come from to specifically create like an internal employee resource group, specific, not just families and not just like, oh, we have kids, we're parents. You did it for foster and adoptive families. Where did this come from?
So I was very public about the journey that my wife and I were on starting in 2017 when we started exploring adoption and foster care, and shared that with people around me. And pretty quickly I got known kind of in the office as the adoption guy. And very quickly people would connect me to others in the office or people they knew who also worked at the firm who either were connected to foster care or were in adoption or were interested in being connected to foster care and adoption. And I got to tell you, I love the work that we do serving clients. I love the work that I do in leading people, but having the opportunity to be able to sit down and talk to other people and share with them my experiences around foster care and adoption were some of the most energizing and rewarding conversations. I felt impact in the conversations that we ended up having there around helping somebody understand how to navigate, you know, trying to adopt a child with special or enhanced needs, having a conversation with an individual where they were struggling with infertility and didn't know where to go, talking to adoptees, and they shared with me their story, whether they came from foster care or intercountry. And so I just continued to get exhilarated by these conversations, but knew I was only scratching the surface because it was only people in my immediate sphere in a really larger KPMG community. So I just started small and, built around one of our, we have two of our five core values of the firm are together and for better. And I really felt called through that to say, we should really do something a little bit bigger. There have to be other people, in other offices that feel like they're alone. They feel like they're on an island. They don't know where to turn to. And they don't realize that there's other people in their company or in their organization who are walking the same journey as they are, have the same shared or lived experience, and are eager to connect with somebody. And so that's where we started. It was an idea that I surfaced with our human resources office, and they were ecstatic about it. And I got such tremendous support from my firm's leadership, from all the other people around me when I shared the idea. And we just jumped in and got started. And that was back in 2021.
So Andrew, take us, okay, I'm someone in a corporation. Tell me in that moment in time where you pitched this to HR and to leadership, where were you? Like, were you in a position with a lot of influence? And like, how long had you worked there? Just to kind of set the stage of like, where were you in your career?
Yeah, I was a partner and I was, not in any special role. I mean, I wasn't doing anything unique or different. I was happy in the role that I was playing, serving our clients, and knew a lot of people and was connected broadly. But again, it was one of those where certainly in my firm, and I know that it's probably true with the organizations for all the people who are joining us as listeners, that just asking, it's amazing how quickly people get behind great ideas. And I was just so excited. It really didn't matter what level I was. I think regardless of my level or position, I think I probably would have gotten the same level of engagement. And I wouldn't be surprised if other people listening are going to find that level of engagement too in their organizations.
Wouldn't be surprised either, which is why I wanted to point it out, because I'm like, this really is just being a catalyst. Like you carry the idea and mobilize it. And so as we were talking through this before we went live, as we were preparing for the episode, you told me that this started as a pilot, which is smart, right? We're going to like test this out, try it out. Can you describe like what did you do then, and what are the group meetings like?
Well, I joke that you can do anything in our firm if you call it a pilot. It just makes things kind of eases the burden or the tension around it. But when we got started, we actually, because my lived experience as being a foster parent and an adoptive parent, I actually started it as the Foster Care and Adoption Parents Network, and very quickly realized that that was actually far too narrow for the community that's connected into foster care and adoption. And when I stepped back and realized that I had only come with my experience, I then started realizing all the experiences of other people. So, within our network, we're connected to foster and adoptive parents, people providing kinship care, adoptees. We have a number of adoptees at my firm who either came through domestic, foster care, intercountry, whatever their experiences might be. We have people who provide surrogate care and surrogate services. We've got birth parents who have made a very difficult life decision. And one other community that I just am so inspired by is we have so many advocates, people who are CASAs, and they are an amazing group of volunteers who are doing such an enormous level of responsibility in the foster care system. So, when we rebranded as the Foster Care and Adoption Network, I realized that we were really drawing it as broadly as it needed to be. But given, that we were trying to reach as far as we could across the firm, which has 90 offices in the United States, we really are a virtual network. And you think when we started, it was 2021, we were all pretty virtual back then. And so we just started it as just a virtual call. And the format still really continues today. We gather together, we try to do major events 4 times a year. And those are just a 1 hour all network meeting. And over the past 4 years, our network has grown to several hundred members across more than 45 of KPMG's 90 offices and still growing. So but I know we've still only scratched the surface of people connected to foster care and adoption. So again, on our calls, we just get together, and the format I think that works really well is that we have a guest speaker come in for about the first 30 minutes, and we often do a fireside chat, and we focus on a different theme each time we come together. So we focused on foster care experience. We've had a session focused specifically around adoptees. We've had a session focused on advocates and CASAs. We've done an Adoption 101 session. We're in the process of organizing one around kinship care. So just to be able to speak to and raise awareness around all the different experiences of people who are connected to foster care and adoption. So we had a guest speaker, we had, a senior person, an executive director in a nonprofit, somebody who's connected to that thing we're talking about. And then on the second half of our meeting, we typically have a panel discussion of other people who have had an experience around whatever the theme is. So we had several of our adoptees join us and share their experiences. We, of course, have had our advocates come in, and it's been really powerful each time we come together. And we just energize our community in the chat and afterwards, and the connections that are made where people really feel heard, they feel seen, they feel connected. And it has just such tremendous impact on, our firm and our firm's culture.
Your identity, right? I mean, I'm just thinking the unbelievable but brilliant cross section where you said, hey, everyone's invited. And people that may not disclose that anywhere else in their life or ever have felt like that affinity to someone else to be like, yeah, me too. Like, that's just it. That's why I wanted everyone to hear this. And like, it's beautiful. Like, and that you have such a the spectrum of like surrogates and birth parents, and like, we're all here and we love each other and we don't have it figured out, but like, let's talk about it. It's just an incredible approach to it. And so you mentioned you do these quarterly things. And then aside from that, are you all using like an internal chat application of some kind to connect everyone in between those gatherings?
Absolutely. I love the technology we have at KPMG to help keep us connected. So, of course, we use Outlook to be able to stay in touch through email and calendar invites, but we also use Teams in order to stay connected. And we've got a dedicated team that when you join our network, you become a member of that team, and that keeps you engaged. And we also have a platform called Viva Engage at our firm. And that's it's kind of like a similar internal social media. And it allows people to be able to stay connected around different themes and topics. And so we have a channel for our foster care and adoption network on Viva Engage. And that allows people to post stories, post experiences, have dialogue and conversations, and really find one another at the firm with their experiences.
This way to come together. There are people you work with, whether or not you work in the same city. Like there's the beautiful thing about it, and I love that because you're doing something very similar to what I'm trying to do in schools for kindergarten through 12th grade. Like, we're all here. Hi, we're all here. If we could just mention this one thing, we'll all talk about it. Like, we're all touched by it. 1 in 25 families with kids have adopted one of their kids, and so I wonder what the data is on the output of where you are. Like, out of what percentage of our colleagues have in some way connection to this, Andrew? It's so fascinating. So can you share with us, I would just love to know, like, out of forming this group, out of getting people together, I'm sure you've heard stories. I'm sure there's things that are happening. Can you share some of that with us?
Well, Sure. I mean, the stories of impact and the stories of connection are just so powerful, and they happen at almost every meeting. I just get so inspired. We often, in some of our planning meetings, we always go around, especially if there's somebody new, to introduce yourself and talk about your experience. And frankly, I think the feeling of connection that we end up getting and sharing what's going on and what challenges we're facing as we go through and are all touched by foster care and adoption is really just powerful as we hear from one another and we get a chance to share. So, I mean, some stories. Gosh, I'm so proud of some of the things that we've been able to accomplish together, and that includes connecting people within a city who didn't realize or didn't have a path to get connected before, and they've been able to arrange play dates and other ways to connect either children that they're fostering or children that they've adopted together. The number of people who have then made that first step into foster care and adoption as a result of awareness, as a result of realizing the journey that other people have taken, and oftentimes realizing it's not nearly as complicated as they've made it out to be. And just the
Wondered.
powerful
I wondered
resources.
because it's like
Yeah,
you're recruiting
yeah. Oh,
CASAs, like
absolutely recruiting.
all
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah. We do a fair bit of helping people understand that we will walk the journey with you. And that's been really helpful for people to feel like they've got, a community that's going to surround them as they go through the highs and the lows of foster care and adoption. Um, and then also there's just a lot of unique challenges and that you face when you're helping care for a child who's, experienced trauma, neglect, or abuse. And that's also a way that we really try to stay connected with one another in order to have other people to lean on or share the challenges you're running into and then get directed to a resource outside or inside the firm, whether it's through our benefits that you didn't realize there was a benefit at our firm that would allow you to be able to unlock, you know, um, mental health services that you might need or an adopted child might need, or people who have taken part in the adoption reimbursement program that we offer. And we offer a $50,000 lifetime reimbursement to offset the costs of going through foster care adoption. And, that's just a really powerful way to show the firm's support for everything that we do.
Listeners, if you're thinking, I wish my employer did that, please, we have resources for you. Check out the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption's resource for that employer toolkit. Rita has been on the podcast. My friend Angela took it to Safety National. She asked a question like Andrew did, and then two of her colleagues go and do it within like 30 days. So anyway, lots of ways to like be that catalyst. And Andrew, I wonder, you mentioned anyone could do this, right? Like it's just go ask. I wonder if somebody were to do this in their workplace and maybe they're thinking like, hey, Andrew, like people kind of ask me, or like I am that advocate, but like I don't know if I have those other skills. Are there like qualities or maybe ways we can identify, is this me? And then what do we do? Like how do we get started? What are the steps?
If you're asking, is it you? The answer is yes, it's you. And why can't you just take that one small step forward in order to get it started? Again, just like what we did, start small. We didn't start at several hundred members across more than half of our offices. Like that took time, and we're still building. I have goals in my mind of where I want our network to grow to, and I really want us to get to 1,000, 2,000 members across the firm who are connected to and want to share their stories and their experiences. So again, just take that first step. Start small, and starting small could be a virtual call. It could be getting the support of HR in order to arrange something, depending upon how your organization's set up. If you're in person, just getting permission to put up some flyers and have everybody come and join you for a brown bag. Partner with organizations in the marketplace and, ask to do a adoption 101 or a foster care 101 session and see what type of connections you get as you do something like that to start raising awareness and building a community. And you'll be surprised at how quickly it'll generate and just how rewarding it'll be for you.
So simple. I actually just learned where I work by day, I can talk to social impact and do that brown bag. which is really cool because it's like you can educate your coworkers and it's like an hour lift. And if you invite the person in, you're not really having to do a lot. So these are great ideas. Okay, so people might be like, all right, Andrew, I think I'm doing this, but I want to talk to you. I connect with you. There's something you just shared that I got more question about. Where can we connect with you? What resources would you point us to?
Sure. LinkedIn is probably the easiest way and probably the most direct way for most people on this call. And you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can just look me up, Andrew Lewis, that's Lewis, and just type in KPMG and I should pop right up. And you're also welcome to send me an email, aclewis@kpmg.com. I would love to connect with people who are trying to build employee resource groups. Marcy, I'll tell you, when I started this, I thought that I was jumping on late to something that I was certain there were communities all across the United States at companies everywhere that were celebrating foster care and adoption. And as I started asking around, I realized that there really weren't many. So there really is a huge need. I feel like what we've opened up at KPMG is something that everybody in every organization, whether you're working in a nonprofit, a school, a government, a corporation, there are people who are impacted by foster care and adoption. And I think they would absolutely love to be connected with you. And so just get started. Take that first step, grow from there, make mistakes. We made a mistake just labeling the group at the beginning, thinking that we were only reaching out to a community like me, and quickly realized that the foster care and adoption community is so rich, so vibrant. And, there's just a desire for people to get connected. I'll tell you one other way that we started building connections too is that we do a lot of volunteering at my company. And one of the things that we did is we got permission to scan the list of organizations where people had volunteered. And we also do a day of service where we encouraged everybody to take a day off in order to go volunteer out in the community. And we looked at those lists and quickly realized how many people around the country were already connecting to causes that were impacting foster care and adoption. And I mean, as soon as we started reaching out to those people, momentum started building really, really rapidly. And so there's just ways for you to be able to, advertise, to announce, to invite people to come together. But you probably use other ways to figure out that there might already be people who are yearning to get connected and are already involved in foster care and adoption.
You just need someone to pull it together. Andrew, that's interesting, but like it makes sense, right? There's data on that. You can ask for it and might surprise yourself on who's there. This has been so helpful and I think inspiring. And I think you started thanking me, but I'm going to end thanking you because I think you went out on a limb and like you said, like make mistakes. And I think that's part of the beauty of using our voice and just taking that 5 minutes or taking that step, right? I know putting an employee resource group together might not take 5 minutes, but it's something we can do and it's practical. And I appreciate that you've been kind of the pioneer in the front, trying to figure it out so we all can learn from that. So Andrew, just want to thank you for the time you invest, the openness that you bring to our listeners, to your colleagues. I think that's a huge deal when you're open to show others this path because it makes the path more feasible for others to say, oh, okay, I was kind of just scared in my head. And I'm so glad I have someone I can talk to and bounce ideas off of and get some clarity.
Well, you're so kind. And honestly, even though I started the group really is led by a tremendous number of volunteers all around my firm right now. And I have such an amazing leadership team where we work around all the different aspects of our communication strategy. We pull together and make available member resources and peer-to-peer exchange programs for people connecting. So we connect like groups together within our firm, having small groups to connect adoptees together, connect people with different challenges during the steps in the foster care process. And then we also have a great community impact in member resources or member meeting team. And so again, even though I got the ball rolling, it was amazing how quickly a dedicated group of just energized volunteers raised their hands and wanted to get involved. And they really are the heartbeat of the foster care and adoption community and network at KPMG. And if they're listening, I want to say thank you to all of them because they are tremendous leaders and the network wouldn't be where it is today without them.
Yeah, the power of igniting something and then others coming along and participating and taking their piece in that. That's beautiful, Andrew. So glad to have you on to share and let us see and follow in your steps. So thanks for taking some time to let us know what you've done and how we can do it too, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Marcy. This has been so much fun. Thank you for letting me join you today for this podcast.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. It truly matters that you listen today, because by tuning in, you're opening your heart to the stories of children in foster care, sparking empathy and starting to see how your unique role, whether as a friend, advocate, or even as a future adoptive parent, can bring hope and belonging to a child or sibling group that is waiting. I also want to personally invite you to reach out to me to ask anything that's on your heart. I promise no judgment. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and I mean it when I say you can ask anything. I know it can feel awkward to ask questions publicly, and that's why I carve out time during my lunch hour and evenings while my kids and husband are at martial arts to mentor others one-on-one. Your questions matter, your curiosity matters, and most importantly, the role you are playing in helping children in foster care matters. Together, we can bring hope and belonging. Until next time, take care and keep the conversation going.